Inside Podcast.
Alrighty. Mr. Two-Ear, can you please check your microphone for me?
Oh, yes. So, I'm just going to keep on talking. I don't have anything to say.
You want to live that one up for me?
My headphones aren't on, so I can't really hear myself.
Keep going for me.
Yeah. I cannot hear myself. I am wearing a hat over my ears. And, there we go.
There he is.
It's not just a hat over my ears. It is, yeah, that sounds good.
Sweet. Check yours for me.
Where did you get that hot chocolate? Is what I would like to know.
That's coffee with some creamer in it, actually.
Oh, well, that creamers look good right now.
Looking like some marshmallows.
Yeah, kind of looks like melted marshmallows.
Damn, there's a bug on that.
I kind of look like melted marshmallows.
See that shit?
Hairy melted.
Yeah, I was gonna say it fell in some hair, like somebody was eating some melted marshmallows at a hair salon, and the marshmallow fell onto the floor where all the hair is and collected it all.
Yes. Or like in a horse stable. And
I don't think I'm getting myself at all.
I don't hear you.
Oh, yeah,
It's okay.
No.
Probably better off.
There you
go.
go.
Oh, yes.
No.
Keep going for me.
And that. We all in this bitch together.
All right, a little bit from you, please.
I want hot chocolate.
What the fuck? Oh, yeah. This is what I wanted to kind of talk about, since we're not talking about people off of social media. What about that dude on Monday night that decided he wanted to jump in a conversation that had to get crushed? I have no idea.
Apparently, the guy who didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he clearly gave a shit.
He
tweeted like
he's definitely a wrestler. Like he has, like I looked him up. He definitely has a bunch of matches.
What's his name?
He had a bunch of names.
Oh, I know it's on the thread.
It doesn't matter what his name is. Okay.
He jumped right into me and Jason having the conversation, and then proceeded to tell us how much he didn't care about the week-to-week stuff of WWE Raw. Me and Jason were like, okay,
for you. And
then he just kept telling us how
he said something that was just so over the top ridiculous. I was just like, okay, I'm done.
He said that even if WWE Raw had 5-star matches every week, that would get boring too. And I was like,
what? That makes no sense.
Thank you. That's what I was like.
Thank God they don't give us 5-star matches every week.
Makes no fucking sense.
I was like, okay.
I mean, maybe one 5-star match per year they should be able to do, but you know.
Let's say you can't even do that shit. I was like, my expectation bar is set real low when it comes to these jokers. Okay.
All right, so let's go. Zach, why don't you do the Daniel Bryan on? You watch SmackDown?
Yes.
Why don't you do Daniel Bryan killing on SmackDown? You can do Ziggler and Drew because he didn't see it, and then I'll do WWE switching Takeover to Friday night instead of Saturday night on WrestleMania weekend, and that should be good.
And I'll comment on everything.
Yes.
You better, goddammit.
I mean, we can't change it to 4 count at this point.
Why?
I guess we could.
It's your podcast.
No, it's our podcast.
I saw how you did it there. He snuck out that little trick. I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Can I get a little bit more of me, and then I think we're ready to go.
Turn my headphones up.
Is that thing facing towards us?
Not
we're all
really.
good.
Being big spell.
Yeah, everything's good.
All right.
On this end.
All right.
Sweet. I'm ready to go too, I think.
Cool.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Can I get a little bit more of me? I just that's just check. Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Play this, do that. Me.
Which way don't care.
Smack him when anytime you want to, Andrew. Don't you worry about it. We got your back.
All right, thank you.
Close fist.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Tonight on the Man from Ringside podcast, Daniel Bryan still rules. Monday Night Raw still sucks. And a certain WWE superstar has a message for JCB and Two Beer Zach.
Oh.
Hello. I'm WWE superstar Samoa Joe. show. Here to warn you about the dangers of excess. You see, there can be too much of a good thing. And like in most things in life, moderation is key.
Good luck.
Now, you see, you can make some really good choices. You can choose to have a couple of these, go out with your friends, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Night. Or
yeah.
you can choose to have 14 of these.
That's what I'm talking about. Break it all, Daddy. Where's the shots?
To wake up at all.
Wake it up.
Wake up at all, he said.
I ain't going to sleep yet.
Choice is clear.
14, right?
Drink responsibly.
No, it's 14. 14 is for shots.
That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Band from Ringside podcast.
14 beers, Zach Palmer.
I switched it up a little bit.
I was about to say, he didn't say anything about shots.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Band from Ringside podcast. As always, I am your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. your commander and beefer. And to my right, as always, we have Two Beers, Zach Bowman. What's going on, Two Beer?
That's pretty good. It's pretty good advice. I am usually 2 Beer Zach. I'm no Beer Zach now. I am 5 days sober.
Woo!
I'm very small, and I have no money. So you can imagine the kind of stress I am under.
Well, I hate to finish this beer in front of you. But,
I'll give you my shit.
and to his right, as always, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Allow us to break down the good book of Band from Ringside, volume 84, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It's all good, baby. Shout out to my girl, Becky Balboa. I did not know you were going sober. What's going on? Did you lose a bet? I mean,
No, I mean, I think
somebody got pictures on
my
you?
life was going the way of Jeff Hardy's, except I wasn't like getting more attractive as I aged and a multimillionaire. But just all the negative stuff.
Okay, right on. Okay.
And to his right, sitting to my left, we have Murray, the Murray Man. Murray, what's going on, Murray Man?
What's up? I wanted to make sure everybody knows, even though they're going to be listening to this later, that for next week and previous weeks, we are live on all sorts of social media right now.
Find us on all sorts of social media.
I think we
please.
finally got it.
Twitter and Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Look them up. And I also shared it in my personal stuff, Friends of BFR on Facebook. So it's all over.
And what's our YouTube channel?
Band from Ringside.
That's it, baby. Find us everywhere.
We keep it simple for
We
you,
are
people.
coming at you from the from the Exquisite Shock City Studios in Chile, St. Louis, Missouri. We have Andrew Bushway turning the knobs tonight, our favorite.
Mr. Wally Pips in the house.
Mr. Wally Pip, as Jason likes to call him. Before we get too far into it, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Not like last week where we did a Q&A. And you know what? We had a bunch of fun with the Q&A last week, and I think that we should make that a semi-regular thing.
Yeah, we got a couple questions left over that I still want to answer from you guys. So thank you for
and we
those.
will attack those in the odds and ends. But before we get too far into it, we're talking about that day one-ish sponsor, Soul Taco, that Korean Mexican fusion food that you didn't know that you needed, but you trust me, when you have it, you will need it again. It is so good, guys. They have that. They got places in the U-City Loop, 2 food trucks driving around St. Louis area, Chesterfield, Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, Champaign, Illinois, 2 in Chicago, Illinois at this point. There's another one. Naperville. So find them, and when you go in there, tell them the Band from Ringside sent you. They have those spicy pork Korean burritos. They got tacos. They got quesadillas. They got those kimchi fries. Trust me, guys, we're not blowing smoke when we say that it's the best. It's the best fast casual food that you can have. Period. And the best pizza that you can have. Period. Especially in South City, St. Louis, Missouri, is JJ Twigs on Southampton. It is a great place to catch a pizza. You might catch me there on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon. Sometimes I go there and I like to watch the sports.
By himself?
Sometimes I like to go by myself. Sometimes I'll invite somebody, like maybe my wife or something. J Bell never gets invited.
Nope. 2019 ain't gonna
I've
change.
been with Jason.
But it's delicious pizza, guys. Delicious appetizers. If you want to go there and watch a Blues game, it's a great place to watch a Blues game. It's a family-friendly atmosphere. If you sit at the bar and you curse quietly, it's a great place to watch a game. You don't have to curse that quietly. I'm not trying to act like you have to curse that quietly, but I curse there. But I mean, it's fucking great, guys. Go get yourself some JJ Twigs. If you slide into our DMs, we do have some JJ Twigs gift cards to hand out, and there's no contest for them or anything. Just say to us, hey, send me a JJ Twigs gift card, and I will personally put it in the mail for you. And when I say personally, I mean that I will assign my wife to put it in the mail for you, because I will forget to do it for a couple days, and my wife will be like, "You're supposed to send that." And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, shit, sorry, that's why it's sitting on the mantle."
Thanks,
so,
babe.
Without further ado, let's get into our 3 count. 2 beer. Start us off with the 1 count.
1 count is one of the only good parts of WWE programming, at least main roster WWE programming lately, which is the new Daniel Bryan. And I never would have thought that it could be the new and improved, but it definitely seems to be the new and improved. And interestingly, he makes his introduction on Miz TV, which is a funny dynamic based on
the
irony.
History. The irony does not escape me.
Where, I mean, Miz has been kind of like borderline babyface for a while anyway. Everybody loves him, even though he plays a heel. And
he does get the vocal males definitely do love Miz.
Yes, he gets cheers.
Yeah.
And he's really good at turning that around. But it's just really funny to watch him interview D-Bry. And interestingly enough, Bryan's doing the thing where he turns on the fans, which is classic, heel shit 101. But what's kind of interesting about this one is I don't know if it's his version of just playing himself up of because we hear that thing about, the best superstars are the ones that are their own person to 110%, 150%, whatever. So Daniel Bryan's version of a heel is a vegan who's worried about climate change, worried about
plastic water bottles, shit like that.
The planet being ruined, and he's blaming the fans for their mass consumption and their plastic water bottles and their mass consumption of meat, which leads to methane, and it's
the GMOs.
Yeah, it's really funny. But it works. He's having so much fun with it. As much as they've done so many turns, and the turns almost don't even mean anything for most of these people, I think Daniel Bryan's turn has been effective, and I really like this angle.
Well, he's been a babyface since WrestleMania, since a year before WrestleMania 30 was. WrestleMania 30 was the one where he won the 2 matches, and he ended up on top of everybody at the end, where he beat Batista and Daniel Bryan, or Batista and Randy Orton. So he's been a babyface for 5 years, and he got over as a heel doing. I mean, the yes, yes, yes thing came from him going no, no, no.
Yep.
When people used to cheer for him. You can tell how much fun he's having, and it's so refreshing. I mean, as much as people love Daniel Bryan, he was a babyface for so long that he had to be a heel at some point. I mean, the only people that avoid being heels for so long are John Cena and basically John Cena. I mean, even Roman Reigns was a heel when the Shield came up, and so it's great. I mean, I think that it's easy to say that you like heel Daniel Bryan more than babyface Daniel Bryan, even though I think that the peak of all wrestling is when you're a babyface and you can get every single jaded, cynical wrestling fan in the entire arena still doing yes, 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 which is what Daniel Bryan had at his apex at WrestleMania 30 and afterwards. At a certain point, he had to turn heel. And it's a new character for him. He's not going back into his old heel character, which I appreciate. And like you said, he's definitely having a ton of fun with it. He's definitely the best thing. Him / Becky Lynch are definitely the best things about WWE television standing right now on December the 6th,
and
2018.
Both champions of SmackDown. So something actually does make sense in WWE right now.
Right.
I know. What do you think, JCB?
I agree with everything that's said up into, well, more so to the Miz as a babyface. I can't disagree anymore. This whole Shane McMahon Survivor Series angle has totally been forgotten. Not only the fact that Shane was supposed to come out and make changes after Survivor Series, after the sweep on SmackDown, but more importantly, how Miz kept throwing Shane into situations time after time after time to where it looked like there was going to be some sort of setup to where Shane would get pinned and then Miz would survive. That's not babyface. That's heel 24/7, heel 101. All Miz wanted from Daniel Bryan is to say that I'm right. You had to come to my way of thinking and do whatever you had to do to get to the title. Eventually he comes out and says it, but that's not what a babyface does. Baby faces are, hey, you congratulations, you fought the good fight, you climbed the mountain and you're at the mountaintop. That's not Miz. Miz is like, look, motherfucker, no, you did wrong. Admit you've done wrong. Come over to the dark side. He's the emperor, dare I say, or Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker.
His words and his actions, but his reactions, like that's what I'm getting at. Like he's playing a heel, but he is a baby face, and he's like a face of the company.
He's a cool heel.
Yeah,
there's no question about that. I'm just saying that let's not get it ultimately twisted. If the right situation comes up, which I think it will.
Oh, I'll always cheat.
No, well, cheat, steal, lie, whatever. In this case, betrayal. That knife that Miz has behind his back is going to end up in Daniel Bryan's back.
We were talking about Daniel Bryan, though. Do you have any thoughts about Daniel Bryan? Or
this is Daniel Bryan 2.0. I have no problem with this. It's different, like you said. Like I said, I agree with everything you said. You got to set up to this point.
4.0.
Whatever. It's different than the heel Daniel Bryan guy that we had before. This is like Two Beer said. This is more, I think, of what he feels times 100,000, million%. It's just he's more amped about it. It's more over the top, and that's what I think wrestling is to begin with. And now that he's done it, he's gotten the crowd against him, which took 2 weeks. I'm surprised it took 2 weeks, but by the end,
he had him eating out of the palm of his hand.
By the end of SmackDown, after he attacked AJ Styles the second time, and he stood up and made the ring announcer say the new Daniel Bryan is the world heavyweight champion. That's when I was like, okay, he's officially gotten over his heel.
So he was so good on commentary. But let me ask you this: how do you feel about Daniel Bryan saying to Byron Saxton, "I see how much chicken you eat"?
Considering the fact that I consume chicken at least once a week, I can't necessarily.
Once a week?
Yeah.
I eat chicken like 4 times a week.
Okay, well then you're the honorary black guy. I mean, damn.
Nice.
I can consume my body with other diseases and God forbid what else is going into his body, toxins and all that other good stuff. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but I'm willing to let that.
I'm wondering if he said that. I wonder if he said that to get some heel heat, or I wonder if that was something that Vince was like, tell Byron to eat chicken.
No, I bet Byron really eats actually a ton of chicken. Murray, what do you think?
Kind of the same thing. I mean, really, I think he's comfortable being Daniel Bryan in a WWE ring right now. He's clearly passionate about those issues, and he's taking something that isn't, like you guys said, isn't a bad thing, but he amped it up to the point and put that little bit of a heel twist to it.
He could
run like a motherfucker with that.
He was probably also feeling pretty bored as a babyface.
I guarantee he looked bored.
Yeah,
he looked bored the entire time he's been back.
As a general manager. Right?
The day he came back and did the turnbuckle kicks to whoever it was when he was cleared to wrestle for the first time, he looked on fire. He was on fire that night.
He was fucking rock hard.
He was full Dupree.
Yeah. Shit,
but then
he's not even rock hard. Are you kidding me?
But then every time we saw him after that, he was bored as fuck.
Little known fact: when he came back and was hitting guys on the turnbuckle,
landed on his
dick
head.
Was the turnbuckle?
Yeah. They've been using Dupree's dick for fucking years over there.
But I mean, it is. I mean, after watching, and we'll get into how bad Raw sucked later, or we don't have to, but. I can't tell if SmackDown's so good because Raw sucks so bad, and then you turn on SmackDown and it's like, oh, here's actually something I want to watch, because that Miz TV segment was great. The Becky, Asuka, Charlotte segment at the beginning of the SmackDown was great.
Yeah.
Asuka,
surprisingly,
Asuka deciding to start yelling at people in Japanese is cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. That's her. Just write it. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to lose an audience if a Japanese character yells at somebody in Japanese for 5 seconds.
Right.
You're not going to lose the
audience.
audience.
Not doing a 30-minute promo.
I mean, you don't even need to know the language to know what she's saying.
Asuka's pissed. That's all I need to know.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That translates into any form of action.
And And it was really Daniel Bryan's show on SmackDown. Like he ran throughout the entire episode. The commentary, like we said, was great. The beatdown at the end was great. It just shows that SmackDown. We always come back to this like every few months that SmackDown does a lot more with a lot less.
Oh yeah.
Which maybe thinks that like Raw has an embarrassment of riches, and maybe it should just be a 2-hour show.
It's never going to be a 2-hour show.
I know, but
it's just so much money.
It's kind of like, there are some people that if you give them too many choices, they have a hard time making the choice. But if they have a choice between heads or tails, they can make a choice. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel like SmackDown is.
Okay,
like
so
if you have to make more of little, if you have to be more creative with less, you can.
Ultimately, who makes the final call?
I heard Vince has been out of SmackDown for a long time, though. Like the Vince he had this XFL thing going on this week.
So let's just focus on Raw for 30 seconds. Who makes the final call?
Vince.
Okay, so
and I also
and he actually has rewritten the last 2 shows himself.
That's also what I heard about Raw is that Vince. I was just gonna say that. That's funny you said that Vince has rewritten the last 2 Raws and said, you know what, I'm gonna do them myself, and has rewritten them. And
worst ratings of all time.
Apparently, the tag match between Ronda and Ember Moon and Nia Jax and Tamina that headlined Raw this week was the lowest rated Raw segment of all time. Now that seems hard to believe to me.
Yeah.
It really does seem hard to believe. If you talk about the lowest segment of all time,
I can think of a couple.
I mean, going back, when did Raw start? 93?
93.
Yeah, they did a 1.61. It was just really low.
I mean, that's like
WCW.
the amount of listeners that we get.
Yeah, I know.
Let's say,
just
you gotta start somewhere. 1.61
just a couple, just like 1.6 million listeners. But Daniel Bryan's definitely he has. It always goes back to what Chris Jericho said about him a long time ago. I trust Daniel Bryan to get over because the guy's gotten over everywhere. And that'll bring us to our 2 counts.
2 count today is something that I was thinking about. I guess it was today's Thursday, so it was yesterday. I was thinking about Drew and Dolph Ziggler in their segment on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw at one point became a Drew McIntyre appreciation night. Jesus fucking Christ. So, of course, Drew comes out after Baron Corbin puts him over. Big video package on how great Drew McIntyre is, blah, blah, blah. Drew comes out to accept this, I guess, metal medallion, some piece of shit that they look like they got out of some machine or whatever. Here's your medal of appreciation, whatever the case may be. Just a side note, if you wanted to do a medal, you should have him take Kurt Angle's medal. That would have gave him more heat. That way you'd already have him retiring.
Just beat him.
He just beat him. You were closely to retire him, and now I have the skin in my hand.
Let him book the territory.
Let
him book the territory.
So, of course, now Dolph comes out and seems like he's bitter about the whole thing. What about me? I brought you here. I'm the brains behind the organization, blah, blah, blah. Drew smacks him in the face with a dose of reality. I'm the brains and the brawn. I just used you to get on top, and now look at me. I'm on top of the mountain. Okay, all of this is perfect. Where I have the problem with this is the booking of the match. That match isn't a Raw match. That is a pay-per-view match. It is set up to be so. We know what's going to happen when Dolph meets Finn. Chances probably that Finn is going to probably lose. So if you're going to play this game, take Finn out. Sorry, Finn, I love you. Put Dolph in, build it up to the TLC card, and then play it out. Now, the second part, the even bigger, like the kick in the nuts, dare I say, the Shinsuke Nakamura of this bitch, you kick him and it still doesn't help. You kick him in the nuts by having Drew lose. He loses for the first time on Raw by pinfall or submission for the first time to Dolph Ziggler. Come on, man. Now, if you're going to do it, then do it on the pay-per-view. Don't give it away for free. Build it up the right fucking way. You got all kinds of ways to do this. You choose to do it the lazy way. Give us an okay match. But now, all of a sudden, you got into where Drew wins. Dolph is not, Drew loses. He's no longer undefeated. Dolph wins a match that he doesn't need. What now about Finn Balor? If you wanted to give it up and you wanted to play like that, have Finn Balor win that match. Maybe you can get Finn Balor over, give him a little push. God forbid he's the first Universal Champion of all time, but another story for another time. There's just, the whole thing just bugs me because it's just lazy shit. There's 2 or 3 things that are good about Raw. This might have been one of them, but they took the lazy way out. Please.
I thought it was interesting that at least Finn was in 2 segments on Raw, but whatever. But yeah, I don't look, man, I love both of those guys. Drew significantly more, in my opinion, than Dolph Ziggler. I wanted Dolph Ziggler to become a massive star, and they just kept kind of juggling him around, and it almost made me lose interest.
He's a really good hand.
You were the guy. You were the guy, probably just like me, figuratively, in the background of Raw, that was always holding that sign that said "Push Ziggler."
For real? No, honestly,
I was too.
Because he's a talker. He's got a personality, no matter what character they put him in. He's
for a long time.
Wrestler.
For a long time, he's been the best bumper.
Yeah. No, he's great. He's got like that little bit of Shawn Michaels, a little bit of some of the greats of the past.
Yeah.
But at this point, after they gave him, what was it, the U.S. title on SmackDown, and he just put it on the thing and just walked away and then did nothing with that.
I just don't get me started.
Now, yeah, I've been more interested since then putting him and Drew together, but I agree with Jason. That was not a Raw match. That was a pay-per-view match. That is something they've been working towards building this entire time, like they were with the Shield too. This is a build that, and then, yeah, they'll probably still somehow do it in a pay-per-view, but they'll add somebody else like Finn or somebody, and it won't make any sense.
I'll play devil's advocate here.
Do it.
So, this wasn't ideal, but Raw is hurting for baby faces. They need baby faces, and right now their top baby faces are Finn, Elias, and nobody else.
Seth Rollins.
Who was, I mean, Seth Rollins has kind of been he's kind of in a thing of his own right now.
He's a baby face.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so those are the 3 top baby faces.
Right.
Is there another one? The next one would be like Apollo Crews.
Ronda, yeah, but in this scenario,
I'm talking about men.
Yeah.
So they had that'd be a nice little like if you could play. I'm talking about men.
Full on Dupree over here.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But they need to make another baby face. And Vince is not against doing a short-term thing to have a baby face right there in that moment. Now, what really weirded me out about this was that Dolph won. Dolph won the match. Dolph beat Drew McIntyre. So I don't think that Vince really has any plans for Dolph going forward. But
go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
I was playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was.
Okay. See? Go ahead. Take your time.
The match wasn't that bad.
I'm not saying the match was bad.
The match was fine. I wish that would have been a 17-minute WWE, the equivalent of a WWE barn burner between Drew and Dolph Ziggler, because we know that if Drew and Dolph Ziggler were given 17 minutes, they could do it. So what they got like 13 minutes.
No, and it was a good match.
It was not a bad match.
No, it wasn't. It
was a bad match. The only reason that made it was a bad match is because it was stuck in the middle of a shitty-ass Raw that nobody gave the fuck about. And they killed that Raw audience right at the beginning with the first 2 segments that were identical with women best friends who were fighting with 5 other different women. It sucked.
Yeah, well, that's good. They keep lumping them all together like that instead of actually using them properly. So it's going to suck when you start off the show that way.
I mean, yes.
Start us off with a fucking match.
They did.
Oh, before anyone speaks.
No,
they did.
It's just
they did.
The best Raw of the last year was when they did that gauntlet match.
Yeah, yep.
Where with all 6 guys that were going to be in, or all 5 guys that were going to be in that, I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, but it was that gauntlet match where Seth Rollins went for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh,
or whatever it was. That was the best Raw of the last year. And
I'm not going to disagree with that, but that's to my point. Okay.
I was playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no,
I agree with you.
I'll go off the reservation.
Please, Zach.
Oh shit!
And I think this is even more accurate than anything, which is
buckle up.
It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to us because nobody's going to remember this Monday who won, lost. and they're not going to remember, and it's definitely not going to affect how they write next week. It doesn't matter. They don't fucking care.
But check us out next week. Podcast, everybody. Make sure you guys check us out next week.
Just because they don't give a shit doesn't mean I'm not going to give a shit.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying they don't care, man.
Exactly. That's what's called exposing the podcast business.
No, I'm not going to be that.
Of course, nobody cares.
No, I'm not going to be that cynical.
Our commentary on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown is more entertaining than Raw and SmackDown. So keep listening to us.
No, it's more entertaining than Raw. SmackDown actually has their shit together. Right. Raw is just trying to whole. I'm being humble about it.
We're better.
SmackDown is right. SmackDown is good. Raw is just on a whole nother level of train.
Like, Jason's taking 12 inches. Like, nah, it's only 9.
Just to say, Becky, don't you say a word.
I really had a joke, dude. I'm not gonna
say it.
No,
say it.
I'm not gonna say the joke.
Do it.
So that'll bring us to our 3 counts.
I got jokes at the start. Now you got jokes now.
All right. So the 3 count's going to be something a little outside the ring, but something that has to do with the NXT Takeover at WrestleMania weekend, which is in Brooklyn. And they have moved that back from Saturday night to Friday night. They made the official announcement that Takeover will be on Friday night. And it seems to be in reaction to the Madison Square Garden show that's going to be the New Japan / Ring of Honor Supercard at Madison Square Garden. So the first thing that struck me is I wonder if they did it. There's 2 reasons why they would have done that. The first one, the more cynical one, is that they were worried about ticket sales or viewership, which seems to me a little short-sighted because I don't think there's any way they're not going to sell out the whatever ballroom it is in Brooklyn for NXT because NXT
Barclays Center.
Is NXT at the Barclays Center?
Yeah, it's probably a safe bet.
Okay, what's the name of the ballroom there that they do
the Hammerstein Ballroom?
Yeah, the Hammerstein Ballroom. So it's at the Barclays Center. So that's huge. So it's probably not ticket sales. What I think it is that they want to be the only wrestling thing in town for that night, the biggest wrestling thing in town for that night. If they go on Saturday night, then all of a sudden they're competing hashtags with the New Japan / ROH thing. Thoughts, Jason?
It makes sense. I didn't think of it that way in the sense of competition. Well, I shouldn't say that because it feels like
it has to be competition though. Why else would they do it?
There was one thing that was brought up. Meltzer brought it up this week, which actually makes sense. They usually do the Hall of Fame on Friday, Takeover Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. If they're inducting The Rock and he can only be there Saturday.
I did hear that same thing that Rock and Taker were the 2 next ones up, and they were not going to do like 5 or 6 inductees. They were just going to do those 2 and just let them just go for like a half hour. If it's like an hour, let's just say the Hall of Fame is an hour.
Epic.
Rock gets one half, Taker gets the other half, and that's it.
Well.
Okay, yeah. So if that's the case, then let's just play devil's advocate. Let's just say Dave Meltzer is right. Now this starts to make a little more sense because the Hall of Fame is not necessarily the big draw to begin with. Hall of Fame can kind of lag for an extended period of time.
Less and less of a draw.
Okay, so
and it does drag, and it's late, and all your talent has to be there.
Yeah, and let's just say
last year when everyone left.
Okay, let's just say for me, if it's not somebody that I really like, chances are I'm not going to watch the Hall of Fame, and I watch a shit ton of wrestling. It's a bunch of meaningless wrestling. I watch that. So I mean, last one I watched was Kurt Angle. That was 2 or 3 years ago.
The Milkman.
Right. So anyway, if you do it like you said, put Takeover.
No, last year was Jarrett and
last year was Angle. Then he came out.
I thought it was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
He came out after WrestleMania and became GM.
That was 2 years. That was 2 years ago.
Wow.
He was the GM last year.
That's just in. Bill lost a year of his life.
2017.
Do it the way Bill said. Well, not Bill said, but do it the way Vince wants to do it. Put Takeover on Friday so that way you get top billing. Takeover is always going to do well. Everybody anticipates it like a freaking dog salivating, it's food. Saturday, you can give Saturday away.
Well, I was going to
let
say,
them do it, and then Sunday you get
even if they did it because of NJPW / ROH, like it's just good business. Just be the top dog on that Friday night. You don't have to worry about anything else.
And I think really, and this is probably nowhere near true, but in my opinion, they're probably putting a day between TakeOver and WrestleMania because TakeOver always fucks up whatever pay-per-view they have the next day. So they need a big deep breath.
Yeah,
they need a deep breath that everybody will kind of forget about NXT.
Yeah, totally. Because every time you look up,
it's like,
NXT Takeover is the day before, and I'm coming into whatever pay-per-view it is, with my arms folded, like, okay, motherfuckers, what y'all gonna do?
There's no way they're gonna let NXT Takeover in any way, shape, or form, and as much as I hate to use this term, trump WrestleMania.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? They're even though it wouldn't, and it never will, WrestleMania is a completely different spectacle. But as far as wrestling fans go, NXT is always going to beat whatever WWE puts out.
I think that whenever people like us talk about it, and when I say us, I mean wrestling hipsters, which is what we are. Like whenever we talk about it, I think that we put way too much stock into how WWE cares about what we think about WrestleMania, which is probably
they don't care.
They don't care what we think about WrestleMania.
WrestleMania is their thing. Yeah.
If they cared about what we thought about WrestleMania at all, they wouldn't have had a Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match where there were maggots in the ring, like where there were maggots, photoshopped onto the ring or whatever.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't have happened.
Those were real, dude. It was magic.
Those were huge maggots.
Yeah, dude. Bray Wyatt, bro.
Well, then I take my star rating back. That was 5 stars.
It's so funny. I look back at my tweets. I was so into that match. Like, when it was happening, I fucking loved it.
Dude, I have to I have to admit, when Drake Maverick pissed his pants the other night, I laughed my ass off. Like, I'm gonna have to own that.
That's less embarrassing that's more embarrassing than what I just said.
All right. And that'll do it for our 3 counts.
F&B Eatery is our third sponsor of the evening. F&B Eatery on 3453 Southampton, part of our South Side Hampton Mafia. Like I said the other week, and I really want to go tomorrow since I got a lot of running around to do. Maybe I should go in the morning and get some breakfast. Anyway, you should check them out on Facebook because every day it feels like they put up something new. They just got a new chef in. They just got they're trying new things. They put out a Cuban sandwich the other day. That looked real fucking good. A lot of new breakfast things coming out. So it feels like I'm missing something. So I feel like I got to go back in and slide in and check my boy Mike out. What's up, Mikey? How you doing? And making sure that everything's okay and I'm updated. So that way, when I'm updated, that means you're updated. Everything's gravy. Like I said, what is these hours of operation? Closed Monday, Tuesday are closed. Wednesday through Friday open from 8 to 2, and then they reopen from 5 to 8:30. Saturday and Sunday are just breakfast hours, 8 to 2 o'clock. Like I said, 3453 Southampton, F&B Eatery. Check him out. Tell him JCB sent you.
Also, Jason's always sharing the information and a lot of specials and stuff like that from them too on the Friends of BFR. So if you need to salivate on Facebook.
Well, that and Fan from Ringside podcast as well. Either one. I'm just going to say, now that we're going to stumble into it, let's just go over to social media while we're all here. On Facebook, we are Fan from Ringside podcast and Friends of BFR. That's a closed group. Send us an invite. We can get you in. Twitter, we can look around. BFR Pod, BFR JCB, BFR Zach, all lowercase.
My bad, Andrew.
Lowercase letters with an H. BFR Bill, BFR Murr with 2 R's. On Instagram, we are BFR Pod, and then on YouTube now, Fan from Ringside Podcast. Check us out. We're pretty much everywhere nowadays. It looks like everything's working for once. Thank you. Pro Wrestling Tees. Thank you. There's so much shit going on. We just got our online store open on. It is the first shirt. The shirt that Murray Man is wearing is now on sale for ProWrestlingTees.com. Go there. Go to the search bar. Bam from Ringside Podcast. Bam. You can get one of the many T-shirts coming out from us. Check it out. Give us the input. Any comments, whatever, it's greatly appreciated. Go.
Right here, Andrew. All right, so we got some odds and ends to get to. I don't want to leave this for the end because I think it's important to talk about. Cody Rhodes was hanging in the owner's box of I can't remember his first name, but Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who has been rumored.
I think it's Genghis.
I think it's Shaka.
Jesus Christ, come on!
But he was hanging in the owner's box at the Jacksonville Jaguars game on Sunday, and Mr. Khan has been long rumored to be the investor in the new Cody Rhodes / Young Bucks AEW promotion. So I don't think this is a work. I think that it would be a long way to go to a work to be sitting in the owner's box with the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who is a mega billionaire. What does this mean, Jason?
It's coincidence. You can play the connect the dot game if you want.
Coincidence.
It's coincidence. There's not. Maybe
maybe
Cody likes football. Maybe Cody Rhodes likes to see a good defensive game. I don't know.
Maybe Cody likes punts. That's why he
Maybe
went to the Jacksonville Dolphins game.
Nobody knows, okay?
Who were they playing? Was it the Dolphins?
That was a football
No, I
joke.
was going to say, I don't think it was the Dolphins. It was basically, it's a brutal game. It means something, but what it means, we don't know. This could mean that they're talking and they're in the negotiations, and God forbid the negotiation breaks down. All we can do as wrestling fans, and I'm speaking as a wrestling fan because I like all things wrestling, is that WWE gets some competition. And I don't care if it's coming from ROH, New Japan, AEW, MLW, banned from ringside. WWE needs a push. Vince needs some sort of fire lit under his ass. That's why we get the bullshit Raws that we get every week, because it doesn't matter. They can put it out anyway. People are going to watch. I'm guilty of that. To me, it's just coincidence. Talk to me when we get something rolling. Talk to me in 2019.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily coincidence, but at the same time, I can't get what you're saying.
It can't be coincidence.
It's not. It's all ephemeral at the moment. There's nothing concrete. We have the trademarks, but there's no TV deal, which is what is going to be required to really push this thing to competition. And what's interesting is I don't know if you guys saw the Revival's tweet,
yes,
and the Young Bucks,
yes,
the Young Bucks said, "Hey, one day we're going to wrestle the Revival, and it's going to be great. Remember this tweet." And then the Revival said, "Hey, one day we're going to wrestle the Young Bucks."
Who went first? Which one of those tweets was first?
I think it was Matt Jackson,
because I saw Revival's tweet first.
Yeah,
so.
and they put a little clock next to it. There's a lot of WWE talent that are probably feeling like Cody Rhodes felt a couple of years ago. There's a lot of talent in New Japan, ROH, England, and everywhere whose contracts are up or free agents, and WWE is snatching up everyone they can.
Right, that's exactly right, and that is why there's a lot of people that probably feel like Cody felt a few years ago, because there's so much more talent now on the WWE under WWE contract than there was at the time when Cody felt like Cody, and now there's probably 30 guys that feel like Cody.
Well, it's the passion guys. It's the guys who are doing it for McMahon's checkbook.
The Revival.
What I would call the new WCW regime.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the big checkbook. They can buy up everybody, but there's the guy, like you said, like the Revival, that could go somewhere else and they could actually let them do what the fuck they do. And it's awesome when they're able to do what they can do. And they can get over like mad somewhere else, especially under something like Cody and, whatever they're planning. I think they're going to try to make competition for the XFL Jaguars. Cody's going to play football.
There it is. I told you. I told you. Guys. There it is. Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
Hit it, Andrew.
Yes.
But it is,
I'm just saying.
It is kind of fucked up when you watch the Revival go out 3 weeks in a row against the Lucha House Party, which is basically a kid's gimmick.
Which is fine, but
it's not.
No.
Bullshit.
The gimmick is fine. Not that they're squashing.
Sorry, Jason. I agree with Murray. If you want to take Lucha House Party out there in a 3-hour show to pop the kids and to sell some merch,
cool.
Totally fine.
Fine. Then make it a 6-man tag and let's just be done with it.
And there's got to be jobbers to it, but the jobbers shouldn't be the Revival.
Fuck no.
That's the problem.
No, it's bad enough that you're already shitting on the Raw division, the tag division at least.
And you know what? If you want to pop the kids, you can pop the kids, but you really don't need Grand Metalik to do it, because Grand Metalik is, like Zach said a couple weeks ago, Grand Metalik is probably one of the 5 best workers in the entire fucking company.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman gets over with kids, so it's not
this
that
is where,
hard.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. But New Day pops the kids too. It also pops a lot of adults that I know too, which makes me wonder about a lot of the adults.
Hey man, When they came out as the Brood, don't fuck around. They're my favorite.
That was good.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll eat those pancakes. I don't give a fuck.
All right. Moving on. What you guys think about Dean's promo with the Bane stuff? We already talked about this a little bit. But are we anti that or are we pro that?
No, it was weird as fuck. But I feel like after seeing SmackDown and seeing the D. Bryan thing, they're kind of both like one's germs and one's the environment. Like that's kind of weird to me that their heel turns are both kind of similar in that direction. I don't hate it because it makes Dean Ambrose kind of stand out again, like the new Daniel Bryan. It's setting him aside from the whatever it was he was trying to be prior to this, heel or face, and it's something new for him. I like that he should have not come out with the gas mask. The rest of the guys were fine with that, but
it didn't bother me as much as it bothered a lot of people. It seemed like online. Like I think
I'm hopeful for it.
I think that Dean's a great heel.
Yeah,
personally, I think that he was meant to be a heel.
Yeah, sure.
I think they're getting a little off the reservation here with the gas mask and things like that. But I also think that if you're forced to be on TV every week, that you have to come up. If you're forced to be on TV every week, you have to start doing. If you want to stay fresh, and sometimes there's misfires. God knows that Ronda Rousey's been a misfire and Nia Jax have been a misfire for most of the time. And so there's only a couple people in the last few years that have been able to handle being on WWE television every week and not fucking it up and not being boring and not being stale. And it's Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins as a heel.
Here's my problem with the whole thing you said. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Okay, we do it every time. It's more times than not. We come up with an idea. It's an impromptu idea. The idea that I just came up with Drew and Dolph was impromptu. It took me all of 3 or 4 minutes to actually sit down, think it out, and do it. If you got people that are Hollywood writers, soap opera writers, shit like that, that means you got to be a smidgen creative. I'm not a creative person. I'm the intellectual guy. I like to think 5 steps ahead. I leave the creativity to Murray, okay? The problem with
that's how
this...
I describe you to people.
Okay, well, good. I'm apparently extra as well, but that's another story for another time. The problem with this is that you're asking someone that doesn't do long-term booking to book long-term. Vince is flying by the seat of his pants week to week. That's why the first hour...
Wait, are you saying Vince doesn't do long-term booking?
Not well.
No, he does not.
I mean, he tries to, but it's not really good.
The only kind of long-term booking they might have is, hey, I think we want to have these 2 guys at WrestleMania, and that's about it. Now, how you get there is the question. Yeah, and
he knows.
Don't fuck around.
Yeah, you knew that if Roman Reigns, God bless him, if he was still healthy, you know he's a part of the WrestleMania main event. That is set in stone. Now, who the opponent was, we didn't know that, but you know for a fact. You gonna tell me you didn't know that Roman Reigns was going to be the WrestleMania main event this year if he wasn't healthy?
I'm saying that's not what I'm saying at all. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm saying that you're talking about Vince as you're saying he doesn't long-term book. That's fine. So Vince as long-term booked. Vince is the foremost booker in the world, in the universe of all time. The guy's done more The guy's booked more wrestling than anybody else of all time. He might not be very good at long-term booking. But he also is trying to please his shareholders in his publicly traded company. So he's trying to please both masters. That's where the problem comes in. If Vince wasn't trying to please his stockholders, his shareholders, then he would be able to long-term book. But I'm saying he knows what he's doing. Saying he doesn't know what he's doing. What the problem that comes in is when Vince is trying to book from night to night. If Vince told his writers, I want this at Survivor Series, I want this at Royal Rumble, and I want this at WrestleMania, and then he thought about it like that and let everybody else do all the work, it'd be a lot better. The problem is that Vince is too hands-on.
No, the problem is Vince loves his money, and I wish Sam was here so he can play that clip. That's the bottom line. Like you said, it's about the shareholders. It ain't about us. It ain't about, it's really about merch. It's about the WWE network.
It's about going over. You think it's about you?
No, I didn't say it was about me. What did I say? It's not about us. It's about the bottom line. Get your money.
Often I wonder, and then I rethink it as I'm thinking about it in my head. Like, I wonder if Vince McMahon is regretful at all, ever at any point in his life, that he went so public and corporate with that company. First answer is no, because he's a money man. No, he's a money man, and that's that.
He's like Trump.
Signs.
He doesn't. Of course, he would never apologize for anything.
But
he's
that's
a sociopath.
That's where I think the line is crossed, though, between him and some of that talent, like we were talking about earlier, because he's just dollar signs and making a television show while he's putting guys that are on his television show who love to wrestle and entertain the crowd.
It's entertainment first wrestling.
But the funny thing to me is that the Revival came right off of that match with Lucha House Party and went right backstage and tweeted, one day we will fight the Young Bucks and everybody will rejoice.
They Rusev the shit out of their Twitter account after that. They just said what the fuck they wanted.
Good. No,
fire us then. Fire us.
No, I say they're basically buried anyway. So you're gonna bury me and pay me to do it, then so be it.
Right.
Or you're gonna send me home and pay me. One way or the other, I get paid.
What's the best case scenario for the Revival at this point? What's the
in
best
the
case
WWE
scenario?
Or in general?
No, in the WWE. The best case scenario is that they fight on a pre-show match at WrestleMania this year and the next year. They can be the Usos.
Man.
That's the best case scenario for them. So why wouldn't they go off and go fight in New Japan go fight in ROH or go fight in whatever AEW ends up being? They're going to make their money. And that tweet was correct, because when the Young Bucks end up fighting the Revival,
that's going to be huge.
The place will be huge. It will be huge because they're all about 5'8",
and they're all they're all watching.
Murray's flicking me off because he's 5'8".
I'm about that same
size. I think I'm shorter than 5'8".
I think I'm 5'8".
Plus, on that point though, people are watching the Revival and they're having the same conversation we're having, that they're being underused. So they're watching them get buried. Vince McMahon is actually probably helping their career right now by burying them on his shows, because it's just putting more stock in them somewhere else.
Honestly, they should send them back to NXT, and
that's what I was going to say.
Zach's been the biggest Revival guy from way back.
I got the shirt.
No, Zach's bigger.
Shirt. No flips, just fists.
Zach's bigger.
Wow.
He's a bigger fan.
Wow.
I'm not even fighting about it. He is. I got a question for you guys. How mad do you think that Stephanie McMahon was that Paige announced the first women's table ladders chairs match?
I don't care. I mean, I guess
it was a joke.
I know.
I have no idea.
Who gives a shit?
I have no idea how Paige and Stephanie interact.
The first women's tables, ladders, chairs match.
That wasn't bad.
Sorry.
I did like when Becky said, "Oh, we're making history." Well, then it must be Tuesday.
Yeah,
I like that, and I also liked. I don't think I said this last week, but I liked when she called. Did I say it last week when she called Charlotte a bootleg?
Yeah, bootleg Becky.
Oh God, when she called Charlotte a bootleg, I was like, "That's really good." Another thing that I really liked from Raw this week. This is the only other thing I really liked from Raw this week.
Shit. That was getting ready to say we talked to two things I liked about it. So
Heath Slater beat Rhino, and now they're making Heath Slater a ref. And I think this has short-term potential for being a pretty good angle. Is that Heath Slater? They're making him a referee. If they make him a face referee for a heel general manager, I think that has real potential.
It's better what they're doing with him now.
He's got kids.
He's got kids. That's it.
Like Heath Slater will never be fired from WWE because apparently he is Undertaker's work partner, and like whenever the
gingers,
yeah, go figure.
I know. Whenever the legends come through, they always work them with Heath Slater because apparently he's like one of the best hands, one of the best taking the bumps. I wish that they would use him more, but I do like the idea of Heath Slater as a long-term WWE employee doing like a year as a ref. Like I think
why not?
That sounds funny to me.
Yeah, I mean he's still in the ring, he's still in the spotlight, he's still on camera.
He's also over. Like when his music comes on, he's got kids.
Yeah,
everybody.
Trust me, I get it.
I've never been a huge fan, to be honest, because when the Nexus thing happened is when I started not watching much anymore. So when I first saw him, I was like, nah. He's built like Edge, which isn't to say a lot physically. Edge wasn't like the giant guy that Vince loves, but he was somehow. But like Heath is just goofy, so I don't mind if he. It's like
No, it's entertainment. It's WWE.
He's like Hawkins, yes,
in a sense,
very much like Hawkins.
They both got
Actually, get
kids.
them conflated.
Except when the Undertaker comes back, he says, "I want to fight with Heath
to
practice," which I think is that's a badge of that's got to be a badge of honor for him, right?
He's got a giant Dupree for that.
He's like
I love
fucking
Taker calls me. Oh, Roman! Oh, you're the golden child.
I love that.
Undertaker
I love
calls
that
me.
Dupree is now the BFR euphemism for dick.
Yeah, boners, anything.
BFR bagged up. Go check it out. That's the inside joke.
I loved Rusev's backstage promo this week.
Yeah,
it feels like one of the first times they let Rusev be himself. Like,
yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
When he was talking about his biceps being double bean burritos because they were so big. Like he's a goofball.
Hashtag free Nakamura.
He's the goofball. They can back it up in the ring. I'm trying to think of a good example of somebody in the past like that.
Well,
Kurt Angle, really.
There's somebody.
There's plenty of guys that we can think.
Yeah,
of
true.
There's somebody on this podcast that's been pro Rusev for a long time. I don't know who it is, but
is he a star yet?
I think he's a pretty big star.
Yeah.
I think he's underused. Is that true?
We can't do it again.
I'm just asking.
I don't have time, guys.
This is how it always happens. It's always Zach, the poor 4-year-old in the middle from mom and dad yelling about Rusev.
I still gotta finish my dinner, even though I'm not hungry anymore.
We also had Elias and Lashley. I guess that's a feud. Do you think that's going to happen at TLC?
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they already said. I thought they already announced the match.
All right, we haven't talked very much about the women's. I think it's because the women's in Raw, the Raw women's division has been so bad, and it was so terrible this week. Like, we have to bring it up. Like, we can hold them to the same standards that we hold the men, right? It was fucking awful.
No, it was brutal.
Nia Jax is brutal. She's awful.
They're teasing.
I don't think she's awful. Just
they got rid of the Bellas for me and then gave me back Nia. Like,
I don't think she's awful. I don't think she's awful. I think she's just careless. She's careless. She's careless.
No. Is she good on the mic?
That's awful.
Not many people are. So no, I'm not going to sit here and make.
Not many people are. That's why I'm asking you. Is she good on the mic?
No.
Are the Riot Squad good?
Really, only one talks. It's Ruby. She's passable.
I mean, was the Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Bayley's segment?
That was
come on.
Dumb as fuck.
We didn't even talk about it last week, but I mean, yeah, it was dumb as fuck last week. It's the same setup this week. I mean,
Bayley fucked up a couple times. Like, I put that tweet out with Gene Hackman looking into the telescope where I said, I'm trying to find Bayley's charisma. She has no charisma.
No, they
fucking suck.
They've officially
but
killed.
They don't put her in good spots.
Right.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
Go
good
ahead.
because you're on my point. Like they had a lot of steam coming out of NXT. Once they got to the main roster, they still had a decent amount of steam, and that means Sasha too. And they've gotten to the point now where they started teasing us with shit we wanted and never gave it to us. I don't give a flying fuck about either of them anymore.
I'm talking about charisma, though.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
she has none.
Does Sasha have charisma?
Yeah.
Yes, of course Sasha has charisma. Does Bayley have charisma?
No.
Of course not.
But she hugs.
Well, okay, but then
I would
say Tamina has more charisma than Nia Jax. Nia Jax.
Oh yeah.
Just because Tamina doesn't say anything and she gives like that one weird look when somebody says something off the wall, I'll give you that. Outside of that, Nia
Jax is bad.
I don't think she's that bad. I don't think she's that bad.
I want to like her.
That's the thing. I think we're all hungry for a woman in her position that's big like that can dominate like she's supposed to be able to. But she's pretty, she's got I know, right? She's pretty, she's got a lot of things, but she's awful at everything about pro wrestling. Like you know what I'm saying? Like she is just the look of that character, but she can't talk like that. If she was
not The Rock's,
she wouldn't be there. She'd have never left NXT. She might have gotten great in NXT. They might have got her there.
They brought her up too soon, and the fact that she's Rock's bloodline, I think, has a lot to do with it.
Let's end this on a happy note. What do you guys think about the Lars Sullivan vignette? All right, right here, Andrew. All right, we got some birthdays to celebrate this week.
Sorry, hang on a
The
second.
ravishing.
Can you start at birthdays?
Yeah. All right, we got some birthdays to celebrate this week. The ravishing Rick Rude. Ah, God, he was great. He would have been age 60 today. He was awesome.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
seriously,
he was,
if you've never read David Shoemaker's book, The Squared Circle, I recommend it to you.
That's a great book.
The chapter on Rick Rude really underscores how great he was. Sonny, Tammy Lynn Sitch is 46. Dean Ambrose is 33. ACH is 31. He's wrestled a couple friends of the show.
Yeah.
Signed to NXT.
Michael Cole is 50.
Really?
Yep, that's it.
Damn,
He's been around for a long time. Enzo Amore is 32, which means he's only got 32 to life to spend the rest of his life. The dumbest guy in the room. Kurt Angle is 50. JTG is only 34. Do you guys know what JTG stands for?
I did, but I don't remember.
You guys know what JTG stands for? Just too good. Mysterio Jr. is 44. James Ellsworth is 34. Sabu is 54, and Flip Gordon is 27. Hey, everybody, we know
Kid would have been 60.
Yep.
we talked about it last week. I do it all the birthdays are up till
But
Wednesday.
he just died.
I know all the birthdays. Did we not talk about Dynamite Kid?
I don't think we did.
Oh, we should talk about Dynamite Kid real fast. I went back and watched Dynamite Kid versus Tiger Mask today.
The 83
The 83 Madison Square Garden match. Everybody that says it looks current, they're close. It doesn't exactly look current, but it looks way more ahead of its time than most of the punch, kick stuff that happened back in the day. Thoughts on Dynamite Kid?
Oh, yeah. I mean, nothing anybody hasn't said before. Total revolutionary, There's precursor to a lot of guys. We wouldn't have a lot of guys without Dynamite Kid.
British Bulldogs were one of my favorite tag teams as a kid, and the reason I liked them was the Dynamite Kid.
I know it's a sensitive subject, but I mean, Chris Benoit
was Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, he is the embodiment of.
Ain't no sensitive subject around here.
Well,
we can talk about it.
And just like Dynamite Kid and Chris Benoit, I think Julie Hart summed up Dynamite Kid best and said he was the best wrestler in the world at the time, and he was also one of the most horrible human beings in the world at the time.
Yeah, I mean, from what you read about Dynamite Kid, he was not a very cool dude.
No.
But Bret Hart did say, I think back in 2010, I was talking to Jason about this earlier, because I did go back and watch a couple Dynamite Kid matches today, is that Bret Hart said that Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask, pound for pound, were the two best wrestlers he had ever seen wrestle.
That makes sense to me.
And if you go back, you can find them on YouTube. I watched two of them today. I watched one from July of 82 and January of 83. I watched two of those matches today. People say they look current. They don't exactly look current, but it's
a mixture of the 80s and what you see today.
They definitely look way more advanced than most of the matches you'll see back then. So, R.I.P. Dynamite Kid, age 60, passed away on his birthday, which doesn't happen a whole lot.
That's crazy.
Hey, guys, we know there's a lot of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you listening to ours. And for Soul Taco.
Check.
For JD Twigs. For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Shock City Studio.
Check. For
Andrew Bushway, Wally Pip.
Check.
For Murray the Murray Man, Merman. For Two Beers Zach. For JCB.
Check.
I am Bill Vagan. Everybody, it's not just a saying, it's a lifestyle.
Tell him, Daddy.
Boo the heels. I just watched two matches. The only reason I watched it,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he was big, before I was even born. So, that 83